Last month here in Houston, before they went to Cape Kennedy for the launch, I asked James Cernan and Jack Schmitt about what, for both of them now, would be their first landing on the moon, and what promised to be a very difficult sight.
3400, plus 3,400 feet, over.
Extremely difficult
Well,
landing there.
it's a very challenging site, let me put it that way. It's surrounded by 6,000 to 7,000 foot mountains on three sides. It's got an 80 to 100 meter scarp or cliff
Challenger, your go for enter.
across the front of this canyon that we're landing in between two of the mountains. Probably one of the most, well, I'd say difficult, but certainly one of the most necessary parts of the landing is to be able to be targeted, have our computer know exactly where it wants to land. And of course, we are very dependent upon mission control here for that type of targeting.
So there is more than on any other flight, perhaps, the possibility that you may have to take over and make some very fast decisions down there.
Well, certainly when you first see the landing site, if we're anywhere within that Torres Celestial Canyon area, that's the time when I make a decision of where in that area we want to land, and hopefully can get back to the nominal landing point. Those decisions always have to be quick because you don't have much time. You're descending pretty rapidly, and we don't have the plentiful fuel margin that you'd like to have because of the weight constraints. So we don't have a lot of time.
Is there any way that your training has enabled you to have a feeling for what it will be like when you turn around at the bottom of the ladder?
No, I don't think there's any training in the world that would give you an inclination of the feeling that you would have when you step foot on the moon. You can even, I've talked to a lot of other guys. I've talked to John Young, for instance, who's my backup on this flight. And he could have one feeling, but my feeling might be totally different because everyone's an individual. And I know John's feeling back on Apollo 10 when he looked back at the Earth or when he looked back at the moon, and his philosophical or emotional feelings were really quite different than mine were. And I expect mine will be quite different than his when I step foot on the moon.
Of course, being the last Apollo of this present series, I will add a different dimension to that too, won't it?
I think so. I think probably the first step is going to be all important to me personally, but I think the last steps are probably going to be more philosophically important to people here on Earth.
What he thought the 12-minute flight down to the landing would be like for him, and whether or not that would be where the simulators helped him in training.
Okay, at 3:30, you ought to have 79.
Just because you have to concentrate. There are a number of tasks, and you're trained to perform those tasks. And I think that you won't really have a chance to stop and think and realize what you've done until after that point in time, a few seconds or minutes after you've touched down, because there are just so many things that have to be done. And I think most of the people who have gone have felt that too, that the descent is exciting, but such a high level of activity that you really don't realize what you've done until it's over with.
And when you get down to the bottom of the ladder and turn around?
Well, that's probably the hardest to predict. It has to be a very gratifying moment for me personally, and beyond that, I just find it very difficult right now to anticipate in my own mind what my thoughts and reactions will be. They can't help but be new because the experience is so new, and that's what I'm looking for.